This is Contestants Not Appearing on Stage, a weekly podcast for game show enthusiasts. Episode number 22, Splice of Life, recorded May 15th, 2016. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Contestants Not Appearing on Stage. Thank you so much for joining all of us. My name is Torgo, and let's find out who my co-hosts are this week.
Hi, I'm Jordan, aka Unique Perspective, and since I barely watch TV this week, I'm going to be playing the role of Nick this episode.
My name is Adam, Road Geek Adam, and I am going to mash my food into my mouth during the show.
Hi, my name is Tris, aka Tristan, and we'll be mashing things up by just slicing and dicing different things.
My name is Jason, aka JJ920, and I have mashed myself up with the aliens.
JJ, are you driving a truck? I wasn't aware I could hook up Skype to CB radios. That's pretty neat. Randy?
Nothing I can say can top that. Last is supposed to be the best, and I can't top that. My life is just pointless.
Randy's playing the role of Adam this week, then, apparently.
Mash up.
Anyway, we only have one topic to cover this week, but it's a doozy, and that is the Price is Right, Let's Make a Deal mashup week. We had some games from The Price is Right on Let's Make a Deal, some games from Let's Make a Deal on The Price is Right. Hosts swapping for segments and model swaps and all sorts of fun stuff. We will just kick this off with the Monday episode of The Price is Right. I'm starting with the Price episodes because my affiliate airs Price before it airs Let's Make a Deal. I know some people have it the other way, but that's how I'm going to start it because that's the order I saw it.
Woo, other way.
We're not going to have like a rap battle, East Coast, West Coast feud. Monday's episode of The Price is Right had Wayne Brady, Jonathan Mangum, Tiffany Coyne, and Carpong as the game, which is where, and this is something that we didn't realize they were going to do, every single game on The Price is Right from Let's Make a Deal had a unique small prize or grocery product section. For this one, it was kind of like Danger Price with 4 small prizes, and a contestant gained 5 seconds on top of the initial 5 seconds they were presented if they could name each of the small prizes that wasn't the price listed up on the board for a maximum of 20 seconds, and then they used that time to try and bounce ping pong balls on a beer pong style board into, they didn't use solo cups, they had glass looking canisters, and the middle one was car, and they had other ones representing various amounts of cash. So how do we think car pong ended up working out?
Honestly, I thought it was the best game of the week. I thought it was exciting. It had an excellent small prize portion that worked absolutely perfectly, and is kind of unusual by standard, and I just thought it would be the best one to keep on the show, even if it required...
I hated it.
Okay.
I think it was the worst one of the week. I hate the fact that we're bringing like physical games to The Price is Right, like, because it's not what the game's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about the pricing knowledge. Like, yes, it gives you extra time, but if you have no athletic skill whatsoever, you're not going to win that car.
Matt, you think that beer pong involves athleticism, but...
Right?
Hand-eye coordination.
But that being said, though, Randy, why do you think that you're not a fan of this one? But for example, things like Super Ball are generally considered loved. I don't know your specific opinion of Super Ball, but why do you think that this didn't work and something like Super Ball seemed to have worked more?
Car pong, obviously, Adam loved, and Super Bowl, I don't know Adam's opinion on it, but I mean, I just feel like Super Bowl was out of place on Price is Right, too.
I mean, listen, this isn't the second coming of On the Nose. We're not asking somebody to throw a football through a hole. They're just asking for people to just bounce a ping pong ball. I mean, this is less athletic, in my opinion, than Race Game or Bonkers. And, I mean, again, I'm just not going to ding it because it's not much to do with The Price is Right. I mean, again, you can say the same about Let 'Em Roll. Ooh, roll these cubes down a ramp. I mean, here we're just asking somebody to bounce some ping pong balls, which is a fun thing, especially given how much they like to give away ping pong tables on the show.
That's true. There were a couple things that I had as notes for Karpong. First of all, it really blew my mind how great a host of The Price is Right Wayne Brady could be if he really wanted to be. He was on form for that entire segment. Secondly, it took so much time. I love how they open the door, have Wayne and Jonathan and Karpong, and then Karpong just kind of rolls itself into position in front of the stage. I know there was a stagehand back there, but it looked really funny from viewing. But the main problem I had with Karpong, I think it's great for a one-off game. I don't want to see it on the show frequently. I think for having Mashup Week, it's fine. The problem I had with Monday's show in general is that they had Wayne and Jonathan and Tiffany and the game. And every other day of the week, they only had one person from Let's Make a Deal. I felt like they tried to start off Monday so strong, and then they just kind of pulled back the reins a little bit on the rest of the week. And arguably, I think Monday was the weakest show of the 5 because Karpong was such a dominant force, and the contestant only won $500, but I felt like they only focused the Mashup Week on that segment on Monday's show, whereas, as we'll see later in the week, they definitely interspersed more elements of Let's Make a Deal throughout the entire hour.
Is it possible, though, that it's because Monday was taped, like, a few months before the other ones, and they changed their mind how they were going to, like, do the week? Like, they may have had originally, they were going to have, Wayne host all the games, or have Jonathan actually host them, and then they decided, no, let's not do that. So maybe that's just a side effect from the fact that it was taped, I believe, in October versus the other ones, I believe, was March.
It makes me think that they intended for this to be a one-off for one show instead of a week. And
that's what I thought, too. But then when they mentioned specifically on the episode, we're doing this week, like, it didn't look like it was edited so that they changed, like, today to this week.
I definitely get the sense from looking at all 5 episodes that Monday they didn't know quite what they were going to do. The grand intro, just how everything kind of went, like the lineup ended up really getting hurt because of it. It just seemed like they didn't quite know what they were doing yet, and that's why it looks awkward, almost like a test run for the week.
It's true. Like, Karpong's introduction alone took like over a minute. No game gets that kind of fanfare on this show. Triple Play revealing 3 cars behind the doors doesn't take as long. Dropping the $100,000 sign for Pay the Rent doesn't take as long. And it's a ridiculous amount of fanfare for, honestly, a game where you can just win a car. Not even a particularly nice car, just a car. I thought that it was overblown, and I understand that they wanted to make it a big deal because it's the first time they've ever done it. But I'm happy that they reined it in a little bit for the other days.
And I mean, the set rolling out onto the stage, that's also what happens on Let's Make a Deal, is that it'll roll out from behind the curtain. With a game that has an entrance like that, I can understand why you want to start the week off with it. And, I liked it for what it was. It was definitely I was looking, it's the longest game. We'll get to the other games shortly, but it was the longest game of the week. So
it's the longest game the show's even had in ages.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then on Monday, on Let's Make a Deal, they brought Cliffhangers and Rachel Reynolds over there. And obviously, since there's no pricing elements on Let's Make a Deal, what they decided to do was have a contestant pick an envelope, and each envelope was indicative of a certain number of steps that Yodely Guy would climb up the mountain. And based on the sum of those 3, if they landed, I think it was from like 17 to 21, they won a smaller prize, and then 21 to 25, they won the car.
Well, you couldn't. It was, I believe, 16 to 21, because you can't land on 21 and get both.
Yeah.
But
it was, if anybody's ever played the Price is Right slot game on Facebook, it was very reminiscent of that.
The main issue that I took with it, I mean, I was great that Rachel was there. I liked that they had her yodel for a little bit. The main issue I had with it, though, is that they didn't reveal all the envelopes at every step of the game and only on the end ones. So we don't know if the contestant could have gone over, even. I don't know if that was a possibility.
I agree.
It was definitely a possibility, because we know the last row was 5, 10, and 15. Had she gotten to 15 at the point she was at, she would have gone over the cliff.
Yeah, and so I think that I want to know if it was possible for them to not win anything. But, I mean, obviously we don't know. We can guess all we want. But, since the fact that they mentioned, oh, okay, if you don't get up there, I mean, maybe they were just because they didn't want to say it. But, like, I don't know. But on your point of Rachel yodeling, I actually didn't care for it, mostly because like I wanted the music on, we heard it the first time, but I would have preferred hearing the music all of the time just because like Rachel yodeling on Price is Right once, that's fine for something different. Well, this is the only time we're going to see cliffhangers on Let's Make a Deal. I just wanted the full effect of the music.
Oh, I will get into having things that only happened on the show once appearing on the Let's Make a Deal version and how I have problems with that. But yeah, for Rachel, I didn't really mind it too much.
I mean, it was fine. I mean, it fits with, the Let's Make a Deal vibe. They're very improv show type on the Let's Make a Deal, so it fits well. Real quick, I was looking at the cliff from Cliffhangers. 16-21 won the golf clubs, but the red strip did not start until you got between 21 and 22. So it was 22-25 was the car.
Right.
That's reasonable. Again, depending on what the other amounts were.
Right.
I thought that it was nice what they did with Cliff, though. I thought that was a good adaptation for how to have it on a game where there was no pricing. So I thought that was fine.
Now, I did not see Cliff play on the. Did they offer any bailout options like they normally do?
I think it was like.
Yeah, she did offer money once it got to the point where she won, or before she won the golf club.
Yeah, because then at that point you could go over. So
yeah.
I think the biggest problem I'm going to have with this week, the exception I think Wednesday and Friday, is the bailouts generally weren't very good bailouts for Let's Make a Deal.
I mean, to be fair, I can understand why, because I'm pretty sure they'd want the contestants to play the game. It's the only time they're going to have them on the shows that we know of. So you don't want to be like, okay, I'll offer you, $1,500 not to do it, and the contestants say yes, and then you don't play the game anymore.
Yeah.
All right. Then on Tuesday, on The Price is Right, they had Go for a Spin, which has this giant wheel with alternating cars or zonks and then various money amounts. And the contestant only got one spin. And in order to remove some of the zonk stickers, they had to correctly price some small prizes. And I love the small prize portion of Go for a Spin that they came up with, how it was pretty much this teletype font, and then they just turned the price over 180 degrees, and that showed a different price. Like 66 and 99 is the one that comes to mind. We've never had any game on The Price is Right have that as its small prize portion. I thought that was great. The game invoked memories of the Big John PC original Radical, which is, some of you know what that is. If you're listening, you know what that is. I don't like that the contestant only got one spin.
I'm apparently in the minority because I like the fact that they got one spin because that saves us time for the rest of the show. I mean, part of the reason Super Bowl, in fact, the main reason Super Bowl was retired was because it took too much time and you didn't get to focus enough on the other contestants. I mean, there were other contestants these days in the mashup show, and I mean, the fact that, we're running through quickly to get through all these long games, I just like the fact, you get one spin, go for it. Let's see what happens.
I mean, I feel like the Super Bowl wasn't just that it took too long. It took too long for a game that wasn't a car game because they didn't play Super Bowl for a car all the time. I thought maybe if you just played Super Bowl for a car, the game could have stuck around for a few more years. But I'm torn. I feel like if you did make the game a regular game, I feel like you should either have more than one spin, maybe two spins, or at the very least make the car, rather expensive. And I forgot how much the car in this plane costs, but
$25,000.
I mean, it was a nice car.
25. Okay, so I thought it was 25. So I was kind of okay with one spin for a car that was, for this era of the show, rather expensive. So I didn't mind it too much. I also enjoyed the small prize portion, which is like the Big John game Upside Down, the original Big John game Upside Down, if anybody knows what we're talking about. But for anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, while you do have to flip it, it also was reminiscent of the old pricing portion of Joker, in which you swap numbers. So now in this case, you couldn't just swap the numbers because they had 66 and 99, but it was still reminiscent with the other two choices, how Joker used to work.
Right.
I feel that both of the small prize portions, both for Car Pong and Go for Spin, ended up being better ideas than the games they actually played for this.
Well, hopefully those are some things that they can implement into some other games that they end up introducing down the line.
My question for you guys is, would you have preferred if the small prize portion had been used to gain more spins versus take things off the wheel? I
would honestly, because I think I I, for whatever reason, like the idea more of having more chances on a harder wheel than having just one chance at an easier wheel.
I feel like you'd have to balance out the zonks, like almost have it. Yeah, I think you'd have to have less zonks maybe to have more spins, because there were a lot of them on the board, and with only one chance to win the car.
If they're going to keep one spin, the contestant should have the ability to remove all the zonks from the wheel through the pricing portion. Then I would be fine with it.
I think all but one.
Maybe one or two.
I think you got to keep one, because then it's now we're just watching the wheel to see what she wins. Ooh, that's exciting. I think the suspense needs to still be in the game. But real quick, you want to talk about bad luck? The contestant, she removed 3 zonks. She lost. And the exact same thing happened on Let's Make a Deal the following day, where they played Go for a Spin. The person removed 3 zonks and still lost the game.
Aww.
Yep.
I know.
The other question is, if this game were to become, which I really don't think they're going to do any of this, if it were to become a pricing game, what would they rename the zonks to? Because I doubt they would keep it unless it was just as an homage to Let's Make a Deal.
Zero.
It's like 0 or nothing, maybe.
Lose everything. The second appearance of Lose Everything.
And on Tuesday on Let's Make a Deal, they had a hole-in-one. Obviously, you can't price items to get closer, so they had 3 different lines represent 3 different prizes, and if they made the putt from that line, they could either keep the prize or take the chance, putt from a little further back, and get that prize. And they had Drew on the show that day as well.
I liked it. I honestly love that aspect of it. The fact that, it's pretty much okay if you get this one. It's a progressive thing, and you got one shot to do it. I liked it.
I'm not sure I liked it as much. There was just something off about it. Maybe it was the fact that it was progressive, that you had to go from line 1 backwards, but something just felt off about this. Like, I almost kind of wished maybe they went in reverse.
How would you go in reverse?
I mean,
are you saying play for the car first?
Maybe.
That doesn't make any sense. You want a car, now let's win yourself an ATV. Now let's win $500.
I like the idea of putting for what you earn and making it more difficult as you went along. I agree with Trish that something was missing in that segment when I was watching. I don't know what something was missing, but I did enjoy the fact that you started there, then you moved back and went there, then you moved back and did something else. I liked it a lot.
There's nothing else you could really do with hole in one. I mean, what else are you going to do? Put bumpers and stuff in the way? Throw a windmill on there? I mean, that's pretty much all they could do. So I think that if they decided hole in one was going to be on deal, that's probably the best way they could have done it. And Drew came out and did his inspiration putt, which I thought was good.
Mm-hmm.
I forget how the contestant did, though.
The contestant lost.
She made it to the car, and then she lost. So she did 501 putt, the ATV in 1 putt, and then she lost on both putts for the car.
What I couldn't figure out, though, was whether, it was what Wayne was saying about Drew being a great golfer. Was he actually thinking that? Was it just kind of because then Drew comes out, no, I'm really not. And then he mentioned the thing about, how Drew barely makes the putts on Price is Right. I didn't know if Wayne, knew that, if that was just playing it up a little bit, a skit or whatever. But I was hey, he's this is a guy who's a great golfer. I'm well,
I think Wayne was playing it up a bit. They used to have fun making fun of each other on whose line is it anyway. I definitely think Wayne was just playing it up.
And then Wednesday, The Price is Right, we had Gold Rush on the show, which is where there were 5 different levels. If they made it to the top, they got a car. And in order to raise your level, you needed to pick one of 7 different numbers. And if you picked a number that was in the price of the car, you got to raise up a level. If you found both of the duds, they were dynamite, and you would lose the game. The main issue I have with this, and I know other people feel the same, is they needed to have the price of the car showing so you knew what digits were already selected. Just cherry picking out there when you have no idea whether it's a $17,000 car or a $21,000 car, I think that it still felt like too much of a Let's Make a Deal game when there was no real pricing aspect to it. It still felt random.
I definitely agree, because even if you did have the numbers right, which, even if you don't know if it's a $17,000 or $21,000 car, sometimes it's you might be down to the last digit. Is this a $17,654 car or a $17,652 or $53 car? So I felt that it was definitely pick a number to the extreme.
It
See,
definitely
and
felt like, to me, the least like an actual conversion to a pricing game from all the 5 games.
that's I think all they had to do was make it. I don't know if they didn't do that because they were worried it would be seeing too much like any number, but at the same time, like they like you said, there was no real pricing aspect when you don't know where that number is in the price of the car.
Yeah. So, but I think that of all the games, I think this one could easily make the jump to be a pricing game on the real show if they added that.
Moving over to deal, we have personally my least favorite thing of the week, and that's 5 price tags.
Yeah.
They had Manuela on, and they showed the clip of Manuela accidentally revealing the price of the car on 5 price tags, which they, first of all, let it die. That was a year and a half ago. Why are you milking this clip for all it's worth? You've already gotten your ad revenue from people streaming it on YouTube. It already trended. Let it go. But then for 5 price tags, they're like, all right, what was the price of the car that Manuela accidentally gave away? It was, and everything was $21,000, and then for the 5 price tags, they just had the remaining digits, 6, 9, and 0, in various permutations. 5 of the 6 possible permutations, 21,609, 21,690, 21,906, etc. I just... No, I didn't like it. I get why they did it. I can understand that it's a memory aspect. It's like looking at a picture and trying to figure it out, and which is kind of fits within the parameters of Let's Make a Deal. But something about the fact that they were milking this clip from a year and a half ago, and how every episode of The Price is Right is different, and how you shouldn't need to have continuity between episodes, something just does not sit right with me on this one.
Well, first off, it was only a year. It happened back in May of last year. I think what I think the biggest problem I had with this is all of the other games that they had, and I mean, including Cliff, really, they actually, played the game. There was actually an element of the game that still existed. 5 price tags wasn't that great of a choice because you have to earn tags and pick a price. This was just they turned it into a memory game, which it just isn't. And I that's the biggest problem I had with this, is that this wasn't 5 price tags. It was do you remember
test.
this? So I didn't like it for that reason.
At the same time, they have had memory games on Let's Make a Deal, so it's not bad there. I understand what you're saying, like, because it didn't really have an element, because obviously 5 price tags is not a memory game, but maybe it was they were trying to promote the crossover, and that's where they were like, hey, let's use this viral video, which I do agree with Torgo, like, okay, if it's only a year ago, but we're trying to like stretch it out. I don't know if they want people, oh my gosh, that happened, like, let's rewatch it, or let's watch it for the first time again. But like, you've already got your 20,000 back from the car, which might have been one anyway. So I think I agree with Torgo. I hope this is the last.
And that's another thing. It wasn't even for the car. It was for $20,000 cash. Like, offer the car again.
Yeah, that's what I didn't the car. Well, I think they should have offered the price and the amount, because I mean, like you said, they could offer it. They could change the options a little bit to make it the same price, but it's a year ago. It's going to be different. But I think it should have been. It was so close to 20,000. Why not make it whichever amount you pick? If it's the right one, you win that amount in cash.
Now, sort of a devil's advocate point. We're talking about how this isn't working with us being mostly Price is Right fans. Do you think the execution of this game works for people who are primarily Let's Make a Deal fans?
Like, I don't think the problem so much is that it didn't work as a game, that it didn't feel like 5 price tags. Like, as a memory game, it's well enough, I guess, but
Yeah, I'm
it's
just
not really 5 price
criticizing it.
tags.
Yeah, I'm just criticizing because it's not 5 price tags. No, it's a fine Let's Make a Deal game. I mean, Let's Make a Deal's done stuff like that, I feel like, in the past before. Do you remember this or that? As a matter of fact, they've had, like, quickie deals at the end of the show where it's like, do you remember who won what, or who or what this person won or whatever. So I didn't have a problem with the memory game, the asking about that. I just had a problem with it being in 5 price tags. And that's just because it's me. I'm a fan of the show. I'm a fan of 5 price tags, so.
I was thinking at first that they should have had, like, 2 of the wrong tags have some cash behind it or something, and then offer that as a bailout option. But then I'm like, wait a minute, that's shower game. Never mind.
Well, and the thing, Jordan, is you're saying us as price fans, but I don't watch Let's Make a Deal, and I watched it. Granted, I fast forwarded to the pricing game aspect, but this was the only time that I watched Let's Make a Deal in 2-3 years, and even then I may have gotten one episode. Like, I just feel like that's what they're trying to do, is get price people, and not even just trying to get more viewers for both shows, but at the same time just have a little bit of fun. Why not? But I think that they need to make sure that if they're trying to get price people to watch Let's Make a Deal, that price people feel like it's a good enough representation of the games from the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fair. Moving on to Thursday, they had Accelerator from Let's Make a Deal on The Price is Right, where they have this giant roulette wheel, and you get the opportunity to drop a ball down the chute, and if it lands on C and then A and then R, not necessarily in that order, in all your rolls, you have the opportunity to win the car.
Spelling bee.
Like Let 'em Roll meets Spelling Bee.
Yeah, and you have the opportunity to win more rolls through pricing. Was this smaller grocery products for Accelerator?
It was grocery
grocery
products.
products for Accelerator. Accelerator felt, to me, the most like an actual pricing game. I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm like, I could see Accelerator on the show. I agree that it takes too long, and yeah, it's not the most original game, but I felt like having the wedges, and it was pretty fair, I think, to be able. It was 4 even distribution of the C's, the A's, and the R's. Like I said, I wouldn't want to see any of these games permanently on The Price is Right, but I felt like if they had to pick one, Accelerator would be my pick, and not just because it's a large, more lavish set. Just personal opinion, I liked that one the best.
Maybe you guys heard it, but I didn't hear some of the things, like, I don't know, that didn't really get explored as to some more of the rules of the game, like certain. So if she landed on a zonk, would she get to continue on? We established.
Believe he would.
Yes, she would, because they gave the show just lets you spin until you hit the zonk, but here they gave her like a set amount of spins where it didn't matter whether or not she hit a zonk on her second go around or not. I think Drew kind of dropped the ball because he sort of didn't explain that the letters that she hit would turn into zonks after that. Like, he just said, oh, now we're putting zonks on the board, not really explaining that, hey, you hit the C, so now all the C's are gone and they're going to become zonks. I wish he had explained that bit a little bit better.
I also thought it was weird that they started off with 2 spins, so if you can't price anything properly, it is physically impossible for you to win.
Which I thought was
Had
probably...
a bit before, though. Cough, master key, cough.
The master key is the thing, like, you don't know whether or not it's impossible for you to win anything until you actually turn the keys.
Boy, which was spelling bee, if you only get 2, yeah, there is still that chance that you have the car. Like, you're probably not, but there is at least that element to it. Whereas, at least in Accelerator, okay, you can't win the car, but at least you probably are going to win some cash anyway then. So,
Like, I just wonder why they didn't do 3 rolls and get 2 more. Maybe it'd have to be like Let 'em Roll, or it wouldn't be much of a pricing portion, but at least they have a chance to win the car.
my other question was, did she win the money in addition to the car she'd already won?
We don't know.
We don't know. We assume she didn't, but...
See, I would have thought she would have, because they're like, okay, you have 1,400, unless it was like you can risk that to win the car. Was that how they did? I don't remember. Was there a bailout option? Like, if you hit the zonk, was it like a lose everything?
Yeah, there was
Yes.
there was a bailout option.
Okay.
They should have specified whether the contestant won the money or not. Like, I don't really care one way or the other, but, let us know.
Well, you could tweet her or Facebook her and ask her.
If it's like Let's Make a Deal and she just wins the car, I believe.
I think she gets the money and the car. I thought that's how it works on Let's Make a Deal, actually. Yeah, you get the money and the car.
Well, there you go. If you know, leave a comment in the comments section. That's our go-to, scapegoat answer. Moving on to Let's Make a Deal, they brought out James O'Halloran and Master Key on Thursday, and the game was pretty much taking out the pricing, have contestants pick keys, and good luck.
Which is what Let's Make a Deal is.
Oh, I
So
agree. I
don't
think
have a
Master Key
problem
works
with it.
fine.
But I think the biggest thing here is that it was a 2-person thing. Like, it would be, you could say, it might be something different. It was just like, okay, here's one person, pick a key. I like the fact that it was 2 people who got to pick keys, and then they would see if they could exchange their key for whether or not they believe it can open any of the locks. I like that it was a 2-person deal.
That would have presented the situation though where they could have potentially given away 2 cars, Master Key, and then just lock 3.
I would have liked that. I think that would have been fine.
I almost kind of wish this was a dual game, because as it was, it kind of like Hole in One on Tuesday. This just felt empty. Like there needed to be something more than just, oh, here's a key. You can either bail out or put it in.
But there was something more. There were James's abs.
That doesn't
I
count.
liked it. It was very reminiscent of the classic Let's Make a Deal, where you have 2 people going at it. You're both going to win something. Like one person's going to win more, but like who is, like it depends on which one you pick. My only question, I guess, was I assume Wayne had to have known which one was, each one, because like otherwise it would have been awkward. Okay, you won the Master Key. You can't.
Let's reset the keys. Let's reset the locks. Now to find out. So yeah, but definitely I think how Drew knows, what key is what in Master Key. Hint, hint, and Drew knows what Drew. Most of the time, Drew does know what keys are what, or at least someone there knows what keys are what, and will tell Drew. I think Wayne also knew.
Yeah, I'm sure. Then we move on to Friday. Smash for Cash being the game that appeared on The Price is Right. I have a couple problems with Smash for Cash personally. First
So
off,
do I.
it's Grand Game.
It's grand.
Yes,
game.
It's Grand Game with 6 grocery products, and you have to pick 5 of them instead of 4. Second of all, I'm not a fan of them having Drew and the contestant on the turntable so far detached away from the actual game itself. I'm imagining it has to be some sort of safety feature because Jonathan's wearing glasses and smashing the piggy banks, and they don't want any ceramic shards to get anywhere near the contestant. I get that, but from watching the actual game on television, it almost felt like they taped the stuff with Drew and the contestant, and then they spliced in the actual game later. It's just a weird sense of detachment.
Let me say, I honestly don't think it's a safety feature. I think it would have been just fine if Drew and the contestant also wore goggles. I think that would have been fun if they stood by the game. The thing is that the game needs suspense. And it's not going to be much suspense if the contestant is standing right next to the piggy banks and can see that there's dollar amounts in the piggy banks. Then they'll just start celebrating early, and there won't be any suspense to Jonathan revealing how much money was in the bank. So that's why they're far away. On Let's Make a Deal, they're standing up back in the audience, and Smash for Cash is sitting by the curtain. The contestant's not going to be able to tell what was in the bank when they smashed it. Here, you have to have the contestant far away, and that's why they did it on the turntable. I think it still looked stupid. They maybe could have just done it down in front of the turntable, away by the audience.
Like in a card game
and that might have been fine. Yeah, like where card game usually sits, they could have had the contestant and Drew stand there. The turntable kind of looked dumb just to be on the turntable without anything there. So
I'm surprised they didn't play Smash for Cash like with the audience to Jonathan's back. I thought that would have been an interesting staging for the game. And that way, shards can't go in the audience or anything like that. And that way, having them on the turntable or in the card game position might have worked out better. That's how I would have done it.
But then you have the complaints from people that are like, oh no, it's blocking the audience. Like when card game first came out, everybody is saying that, the audience is looking at the monitor. You're not supposed to do that. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I never notice when people are looking at the monitors when they have double prices in front of the audience or card game or anything like that. So it doesn't befuddle me.
In my opinion, for Smash for Cash, it was lost. So that's fine, but I thought it was super simple because I thought it was obviously the one, what was it, Allegra or something like that.
Yeah,
I thought,
Midnight.
That was
like it was easy,
never supposed to be lost.
And I think that's what they were trying. I think they were trying to mostly get wins because, oh, yay, more people are supposed to be watching and whatnot. I didn't understand how it was lost. Like, I get it, but at the same time.
I mean, it's just like regular pricing games. Sometimes people just don't see the easy get right in front of them. So,
which is what I think, and this is kind of a different note, which I don't want to delve off into, but that's what I feel like whoever sets up the games need to understand is that contestants will find a way to lose. Like, you don't have to always make lucky 7 with 9s and whatnot. They're going to lose.
And finally, we're moving on to Punch a Bunch, which is the price game that appeared on Let's Make a Deal.
How they did Punch a Bunch was, first contestant punches out 1 hole. You can either take the money that's on the board, which is the same distribution as it is on The Price is Right, or you could take the bailout option. Second person does it with 2 holes. You punch them out, and then you can take that out of the bailout. Third contestant did the 3. I honestly think out of all the Price is Right games on Let's Make a Deal, that this one was the best implemented. Like, it felt most like Let's Make a Deal.
I would agree.
How did they determine what the order was for the contestants?
Just random.
Just whoever
no.
Wayne picked.
It was like each of the 3 contestants were different
Yes.
times. So it's contestant 1, their deal, then contestant 2, and then contestant 3.
I'm
did
just saying,
their
Wayne
deal.
just picked 3 different people out of the audience. So
I kind of figured it wasn't going to happen, but I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't have a 4th person do 4 because that's the max you can get on the show, which I get, like the contestant on Price is Right doesn't win all 4, but I was kind of hoping for that a little bit. I was also hoping to find out where the 25,000 was.
I
Set it up
wish they had
easier, or
revealed-
if they wanted it not one, because I felt like the main issue I was going to have is that if they open, okay, here's 25,000, next person, wait, you can't win that anymore. Like, I'm sure they were hoping that wouldn't happen, but like, what would they have stuck another one in, or like, how would they?
would have.
I think they would have said, well, the 25 has already been won, but hey, look, there's 2 10,000 still out there somewhere for you to get.
You can still win 20,000.
That's true.
So
And it would have also been awkward if, the first hole that who was it, Tiffany was doing it revealed was 25,000. Yay, woo. And then what's another one? Oh, it's another 100. Yay.
But I mean, the board that day just wasn't being nice. Like, the highest amount we saw in there was, what, $1,000?
It goes
Punched a few
$1,000.
times.
But at the same time, you can say the board wasn't being nice, but again, I feel like it was set up similar to on the show where they know where to put the money that people aren't going to punch. Like the top right corner was punched, and it was, I believe, like a
It was just like
100. Yeah, so it was
Yeah, it was a
cheap. Like they know people love going for corners. Like I don't know what the other corners were. Maybe I'm wrong, but like I feel like they knew the 25,000 was in a spot that no one's going to punch, which I believe is on the like very left of the board, or else the bottom row is where most people don't seem to punch.
Yeah, because people don't like crouching over.
My thought, just hearing this, like the description of the game, and I didn't see it as well, but to me, why one contestant get 1 punch, why the second get 2, and why another get 3? Why not just give them all 1 and have the bailout or trade option like they would for a typical Let's Make a Deal?
Because that's the way Let's Make a Deal, I believe, does some things. Okay, you get 1, now we're going to give the next person 2. Like, the first contestant can think, darn it, I wish I was picked 3rd, but hey, at least they were picked at all. Like, I don't think any of the contestants were like, oh man, I just got 1 or 2. Like, I feel like that's the way Let's Make a Deal kind of rolls, is not everyone on the show gets the same chance, just like not everyone on Price is Right gets to play 3 strikes or triple play. You might get your double prices, but everyone's really just excited to get on stage. So
That's
I mean,
fair.
that's fair. I just think consistency would make it work a little better.
That's fair.
I think so too. Yeah.
Also, really quick, I didn't mention this, but I didn't like having just Tiffany on the Tuesday and Thursday shows because Tiffany's been a model on The Price is Right before, so I felt like that was nothing special. But I really liked what they did having Jonathan there. I don't know if Jonathan was more game for it, but the showcases on the 2 Jonathan shows were very good with the mashup theme. Wednesday, they did quickie deals in the audience, and I thought that was great. It took a long time, but I really enjoyed watching that. I thought that was a great way to really invoke the mashup theme throughout the entire show. And then on Friday, they had the showcase where the contestant could pick door number 2 or door number 3. And then they had a car, and they're like, I'm going to keep it. Oh, we're going to give you the other door also. It's another car. I was like, that I thought was fantastically done.
well, for the showcases, I was kind of, once they revealed the one was a car, I knew the other one was going to be a car too, because it was like they weren't going to say, okay, it's the car, and then it would have been this that you're going to win as well, because they weren't going to offer you prizes you couldn't win. But I'm just curious what was in, I believe it was George was the one announcing still during that, what he would have said if they'd said, no, we're going to give it away. And then he would have said something similar to like, you don't have to give it away, but I wish the contestant would have just
Also, what I like about the showcase is on the Quickie Deal showcase. He was really giving money to people who had the items so that they would relate to the prizes on the stage. So he asked the lady for a spatula, and she didn't have it. And they used it to introduce the kitchen that they offered in the showcase. And after they offered the car in the showcase, at the end of the showcase, Drew's like, "Give that lady $100 for the spatula. She's not coming to the prices right with a spatula." I like that a lot.
I like the fact, kind of what JJ was saying, was the fact that the Quickie Deals were actually things like, the contestant could have versus, I know Let's Make a Deal wants you to do their Twitter. I'm curious if they hadn't had the car key and they hadn't had the coin, if Drew would have given them the money. Anyway, I know the spatula thing, I agree, because when that happened, he's like, "You have a spatula?" I'm like, that's the other one's got coin car key. You got a spatula? So I'm curious. I like the fact that Drew did that, but I would be curious if he would have just given them all money anyway. But
to wrap up the mashup talk, what do you think worked better, having the deal games on The Price is Right or having the price games on Let's Make a Deal?
Am I allowed to say they worked evenly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, there were some good and some bad. I feel like I don't know which ones they came up with first. I don't know. In my opinions were different than some of your guys's, which ones were kind of maybe the fifth one they were stretching on both shows. But I liked it. I don't know that I would necessarily want to see it again. If we did it again next year, I don't know if the novelty's worn off, or if, seeing 5 different games would be, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it again. It was kind of a fun little thing because they are kind of sister shows. They're both, produced by Mike.
CBS's whole thing is mashing up shows, not just Price and Let's Make a Deal. We're going to see the mashups with the other nighttime game shows when we see the nighttime specials of The Price is Right. Other shows, they have the whole commercial advertising campaign with having different characters from different shows interact. So I think it's a CBS decision that they had to do this. I don't think it's something that necessarily Price and Deal had to do. They didn't want to do it on their own. Obviously, having Richards be the director for both shows made it easy because they could, he could sit there and come up with things on his own and figure out what works where. I liked it. I don't want to see it become an annual tradition because then I feel like it's not special anymore. We have enough specials as it is.
Would you want to see it again in 2 years or just not at all again?
I don't think I'd want to see it again. Maybe one show a year, not a whole week.
I definitely, though, think what The Price is Right did to make the games fit, I think was something fantastic. And the fact that they came up with these different ways to incorporate pricing into the Let's Make a Deal games. I mean, again, Car Pong and Go for a Spin were just, just masterful pieces of thinking. This is something that we, if we have seen it on the show, we don't see it on the show now. I mean, Danger Price for small products and the upside down Joker, flip-flop teletype thing. We don't see that either. So I think they came up with some fantastic original ideas for The Price is Right. And that's what made me like the Let's Make a Deal games and The Price is Right a bit more than the other way around.
Oh, I don't think we mentioned, by the way, for Accelerator, it was pretty much step up with grocery products. Except instead of cash values, you got spins. Or not spins, rolls.
Which on that note, I didn't understand how it was going to be if they hadn't priced it perfectly. Was it would order? Was it when you lost? Was that how many you got? Or
I think the products that they used made it really easy for the contestant to get all the rolls.
Yeah, but I don't know how it would have happened if they hadn't. Would they have gotten just up to the point they'd already gotten, or was it okay? You've gotten them 2 of them in the right spot. That's what I didn't understand, that aspect.
I think it'd be step up or hole in one, where once you broke the price, you're done.
Okay.
So that wraps up pretty much this episode of Contestants Not Appearing on Stage and The Price is Right Let's Make a Deal Mashup Week. If you had any comments on it that you missed, feel free to leave it in the comments section below. Anybody have any loose ends that they want to bring up before we go ahead and end the episode?
JJ, you have any insights from the teachers tournament that aired from your point of view since you watched it?
I like how Jordan's dropping all the pretense and being like, well, JJ usually rants for 10 minutes in this segment, so let's just turn to him.
I went to, and we'll talk about it more next week. I went to the Power Players Week, which is coming up next week. I went to the semifinals of the Teachers Tournament, which aired this week. It was really fun to see it happen live. I was very happy to have Alex answer one of my questions, which I guess I'll talk about the next time around. It was not much, insight, I will say that they're very, live to tape. They're very, very quickly to come on in, read the clues, commercial break, come back and forth. It's like what you see on TV is pretty much what you see live. There was an exception on Monday's show. There was a long stop down for a judging decision, but it was a really fun experience, and I was very, very happy that I at least got to see this show and Alex Trebek in person before Alex, decides to hang it up or whatever. Also, regarding the Teachers Tournament, congratulations to Jason Sterlacki for winning the whole thing. He really did, with the exception of Kaberi on the first episode of the semifinals. Jason really did seem like the strongest player throughout the entire tournament. Well, Scott did too until he blew it, but yeah.
And Jason, if you're listening, leave a comment in our comment section.
Oh, that's adorable.
One other thing too is, gosh, there's so much to talk about. There's a To Tell the Truth promo that came out, so go look at that. If
we have a lot to say
thoughts
for the next couple weeks, so don't you worry about us not having content.
So
Yep.
I'll tell you what I think about that maybe later, but the To Tell the Truth promo's out. There are rumblings, news somewhere that perhaps maybe ABC, already in their crowded game show lineup, is considering adding Password to the repertoire. Now, whether or not that would be, for the summer slot or for some time later in the year, we don't know. But someone saw Password written somewhere on ABC's website, and, that just sets off the bells and whistles for everybody. So we'll see if anything comes of that.
It was written in such a way that that actually meant anything, or could it have been just like, enter a password here?
Someone saw it on ABC's internal website. So it was listed like as a part of shows that they're doing as Password. So we don't know if it doesn't.
The Muppets just got canceled, so Tuesdays at 8:00 is open.
Right? There's some free slots now. ABC's been on ABC canceled Castle too. There's some free slots.
New from ABC, the Muppets play Password.
Right?
You laugh, but I guarantee you
I
that
can see
since
that.
they own that, I could see Kermit the Frog or Miss Piggy as one of the celebrities on that show. You bet.
Like-
You watch.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow, that was interesting.
Might as well to bring it up. Match Game is now casting, and they're taping in
June.
New York City during the middle of June. So if you want to try out, just go to their website.
And leave a comment in our thread.
Right?
We have comments for everything.
Producers now.
But that's going to do it for this episode of Contestants Not Appearing on Stage. Thank you so much for tuning in on behalf of everyone else. This is Torgo, and we will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to Contestants Not Appearing on Stage, part of the Torgo Entertainment Network. For more episodes of Contestants Not Appearing on Stage, check us out on YouTube or online at cnaoscast.net.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Put that away, JJ. Put it away.
And also put away your voice thing in addition to the other thing you need to put away.
Exactly. What actually is that, JJ?
That's
It's a voice changer.
Yeah, it's the voice changing device.
Yeah, it's a.
It's like it's a handheld thing.
That was great.
They're like the cheapy ones that they have at the store.
Yeah, I got this one.
It's
Okay,
like a
Kylo
peanut going
Ren.
on.
Okay,
It's not longer than a usual episode, but not.
damn it, Kylo Ren, go kill your dad again. Spoiler! I would be laughing if I could actually hear what you were saying.
Yeah.
I liked it. How long was it?
Like 50 minutes. It was pretty long.
I didn't even feel like 50.
Yeah, I was gonna say it felt shorter.
I thought it was 40.
That's all
So
in the count.
Yeah.
This is Contestants Not Appearing on Stage, a weekly podcast for game show enthusiasts.
I don't say
Episode
that.
number 22. Insert title here.
Recorded May 15th, 2016.
Welcome everyone to Contestants Not Appearing on Stage. My name is Jordan, aka Unique Perspective, and let's see.
I guess I'm not allowed to start my own episode.
See, it's mashup week, so we're
Can
mashing
we
up.
just start over?
Okay.
we're
I
gonna
don't
mention
think
that Dan
we need
too.
it.
I'm
I think we're
mention
going
that
to
Dan.
see Torgo saying TikTok somewhere in here today.
45 seconds. I have a feel. I'm worried about going over. I really am.
I think we'll be fine.
You should be fine, Beer.
Hang on.
Matt, that.
Hey, be right back. 45 seconds. Be right back.
You better drop a kidney stone real quick.
This is what Joey does. This is what Joey does before the beginning of every View episode. It frightens the hell out of him.
Hey guys, I have a theme.
You're talking about this episode that someone read the clue live. Who was that?
Jill
Joe
Biden.
Biden, whoever she is.
Well,
And
live
whoever
is
she
I
is.
mean, whoever she
Is
is.
it the daughter of Joe Biden?
No,
wife.
it's his wife.
I like how the blooper reel moment happened before the episode.
I love whenever we have a decent moment, Jordan has to ruin it, be like, oh, I guess this is going in the blooper reel, guys. This isn't forced at all.
You know, Torgo, you should give out a prize, like somebody who comments, like the 5th comment we receive will win a $1,000 gift certificate from Torgo.
Have we?
We barely make $1.
Right?
Well, we're not giving that away because we've never had 5 comments on any video before.
And then you see, who is this Randy guy that's the 5th comment? Oh, I don't know. Must be somebody else that lives in Nebraska.